Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Devanshi Mazrani. I'm with Haute Living. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Monsieur Francis Kurkdjian.
Hello, how are you? Hi, everyone.
Well. Thank you, thank you. So for those of you who are not familiar with Francis, I am going to run through a very quick bio. So Francis Kurkdjian started his career in 1995, which was also when he created one of the most celebrated perfumes of all time, Le Mal for Jean-Paul Gaultier. As one of the most renowned perfumers in the world, his curriculum includes iconic creations for Guerlain, Dior, Armani, Narciso Rodriguez, Elizabeth Arden, Acqua di Parma, Versace, Ferragamo, Lanvin, Van Cleef & Arpels. I'll just give you a couple of more, Burberry, Kenzo, and several others. At the mere age of 30, he received the esteemed François Coty Award for his entire career, and he was the first perfumer to start his bespoke fragrance atelier in 2001. Motivated by a shared vision of French perfume making and the creativity that inspires it, Maison Francis Kurkdjian joined the LVMH portfolio in 2017 with Marc Chaya and Francis Kurkdjian continuing their roles as CEO and creative director respectively. Since then, Francis created a fragrance exclusively for Fendi, another LVMH brand, called Fendi Frenesia, scenting the leather of the limited edition baguette bag using an exclusive technique patented by the Maison. So I could have given a much longer version of that bio, but that's just the condensed version to give everybody a sense of how incredible this man is. So thank you again so much for being here. I am thrilled to be chatting with you. So I will jump right in because obviously the elephant in the room being quarantine and COVID-19, and I heard that you actually went into a quarantine a little bit earlier than most in Paris.
Yes.
So if you could explain why you did that and how quarantine has been for you since then, both personally and professionally speaking.
I mean, thanks to the LVMH group, we had the knowledge about what was happening in Asia, and Marc took the decision very early for us, for the team in Paris, to spread away, not to see each other as often as we used to do, to have the social distancing necessary so everyone would be safe. And I would say, I believe so that in Paris, in France, we went in quarantine around the March 12th. And I think that we started to be careful end of February, around the 20th. And I think I stayed home around the end of February, around March 1st or 2nd. I discovered Zoom meetings and all these new tools because I was more like, I love like one-on-one and face-to-face and to be with my team in Paris. I'm currently in my office right now, but I had to adapt. We all had to adjust ourselves to this new pattern to work together. And little by little, around maybe 4 or 5 weeks after, maybe we find out that part of the symptoms that you could have if you get COVID, the idea of losing your sense of smell and taste. So it's not that freaked out because I was very careful. I stayed home. I think I went out for like at least, maximum once a week to like food shopping. I live in a new district of Paris and in a new apartment, and I love my new place because there are many like places for food shopping, and they were all open because they're like tiny shops with a very cool product. So I used to get out there like once a week to do my food shopping. So I stayed home, and I was fine because thank God no one in my family got sick. My father was healthy, confined. Everyone was safe. My nieces, my brother, my sister, all that. Plus the company, our employees were safe. That was also the other thing important. People first, as we say. People first, and then little by little, we try to not to go back to normal because nothing will be back to normal anyway. It's going to be a continuity of life. I don't see anything going back to normal. And I adapted because, first of all, I postponed my creative work as a perfumer. I have formulas. This is a little, if you look back here, these are my works in, all these things here are my work in progress. So I postponed a little bit that creative part of making the scent because my lab assistant stayed home. We avoid her to come to take transportation and to come to the office. And most of my time now is dedicated to the other parts of creation within the house, which is more like head of design and the creative work with Mark, of course, but mostly like to put my team together and to keep going as much as we could. And so we had deliveries going from one place to another with like the mock-ups and with the things and emails and lots of Google Drives and lots of things like that. As many of us, anyway, I assume that lots of the people know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, myself included. And
yes, of course.
So speaking about your works in progress, you know, I've had the pleasure of speaking to a lot of really incredible creatives like yourself. And I specifically called this session The Art of Scent because, you know, creating fragrance especially and mixing ingredients, and it takes obviously a very sophisticated palate and olfactory system. So given that you've been in quarantine and lockdown and not traveling as much and engrossing yourself in other cultures and people and societies, how are you finding inspiration indoors, if at all?
I don't mind at all. I'm very happy not to travel as much and not to travel at all. I'm super happy because it was maybe way too much, and I did not really measure how often I was traveling because it was part of a kind of a routine, like to take a cab to go to Charles de Gaulle, to take a plane, to get another cab to go to a hotel, and so on. And it was kind of like a roller coaster in a way. So I'm very happy not to go away, to stay home, to stay in Paris, and to stay home because I'm never home in a way. And so that was not a problem for me to stay home. I'm very happy. And in terms of my creative process, I am not inspired by landscapes and overseas. And I miss my friends. I have friends in New York, I have friends in LA, I have friends in Germany. I really miss my friends, but nowadays you have all this FaceTime and everything you can do. So I would say that my creative process didn't change for one main reason is because I work ahead of time. I am right now currently working on, I am ending my project for 2021, and I start thinking about 2022. So it's not because I was locked down for like 3 months that my life has been shut down for a amount of time. It's something that I'm capable to separate things a lot. So it didn't interfere at all. And I am not, I would say, a drama creator in terms of, I was calm, I was happy to be home, I was serene in a way, anxious about how economically the company would be doing and what I've built for 11 years with Mark, how things would stay up. That was a real concern because all of a sudden I had the feeling for a brief moment that things were like collapsing a little bit like a castle made out of cards, things like that. But I was confident enough and I was relieved because Mark is an incredible business partner, and I knew that I know that I can't always count on him. So I was kind of not relaxed, but serene.
That's very nice.
And then when you have and I was happy in a way, happily confined because it's a new apartment. So I was working quite a lot, maybe more than ever in a way, but I was home. I was on the weekend. I was fixing things in my apartment. I have a little terrace outside. So I was looking after my plants, and basically when everyone around yourself is safe, no one was sick, no one was at the hospital, and it's a best case scenario in a way, And I knew that I was blessed to go through that period of time with no injury for myself and the people I love. So in a way, I tried to take care of friends of my parents because they were like a target group they might caught COVID. So I was making phone calls uh, every week to like my old aunties and people like that needed support.
Right.
And when you are capable to put a smile on someone's face, it gives you so much back, you know, in a way. So the energy also came from the idea of making someone else happy, relieved. So I think this is how it went.
Lovely. That's really a wonderful way to look at it. And I think we can all learn a little bit from you in that regard. So before I go into sort of the ingredients you use and stuff like that, can you just tell our audience about the brand itself in your own words and how you decided to start and where it is today?
Why did I decided to create Maison Francisco? I think I did it because I had no other places to express my vision of fragrances. I've worked, as you said earlier, for many, many brands. Some are the most beautiful brands in the world. But I had a kind of there was an empty space each time. When I say empty space, I was missing something. Because when you are a perfumer working for other brands, you don't deal with all the other, I would say, you don't deal with the other aspects of the project. You are as a perfumer, and I say perfumer and not a nose because I really dislike the name nose to call a perfumer. But you are not in touch with the designer of the bottle. You are not in touch with the visual team. You are not in touch with all the environment of the product. And I really love that. And in my creative process, I always start with a name. I need to find the name first. The name always comes first, and then I create the scent. So if I am not immersed into that kind of environment, I feel very unhappy in a way. And I started very young because when I created Le Mal, I was 25 years old. I started very young, and at some point I understood that I would be missing that team effort, being together to create a beautiful product. So I don't pretend that I do everything within the company because I'm not. But at least I am with Mark, we are both at the top of the pyramid, and I give the input of the name. Most of the time the name comes from, it's my mission in a way. Then I start thinking with Mark about the creative. I share with him my creative ideas around the packaging, the bottles, which cap we should use. Should we use a label or not? So there is a big creative exchange around that. And then comes the scent. So the only place I could do that was my own place. But I would say my ideal work would have to be at like an in-house perfumer at Chanel or in-house perfumer at Hermes or at Guerlain, but that position never came to me. Other people, like great talented perfumers, were invited in a way or called. I was not called. So in a way, I felt I was on the side. And at some point I said, I am young, I have the energy. At the same time, I've met Mark as a friend, but Mark was already having his own career at Ernst & Young. And together we decided that, yes, we could do it. Yes, we can. Yes, we can do it. Or let's try. And I think that even I encourage people to try, because there is no such a thing to have the feeling that you have missed something in your life. And I am healthy. I have a little bit of a brain, I would say. I was lucky enough to meet Mark and to partner with him in terms of to build this business. So why not to try? it's almost like I had to, in a way, because if I don't do it, knowing that I have all the cards in my hands, who would do it? If I don't do it, who would do it? You know, it's like when you give away for people, when you do something by charity, I must do it. It's my mission at some point, because life has been good to me, because in a way I feel I'm blessed. My mission is to give back. And I felt that it was at the time, the right time to do it. And let's try. And if you don't succeed, it's not that of a problem, because it's even worse if you don't try. Because if you don't try, it stays in your heart, it stays in your mind for the rest of your life. And to describe what Maison stands for, the values, I would say it's above all, it's an idea of freedom, my creative freedom, but also Mark's freedom as well, because he was a very successful partner in Paris, based in Paris, but he was in global telecommunications. He had a huge position. And so that idea of entrepreneurship
Yes.
was very important, that type of freedom, the freedom of creation in a way, the idea of quality more than luxury, because I believe that quality goes above luxury, because quality is something very tangible. A quality goes into, and quality, it's about all the product that you can touch. And this is a bit different than luxury to me. And then the idea of course, Paris, then an idea of what Paris stands for me. And it's not like Paris with all the cliches with Eiffel Tower and the Champs-Élysées, but it could be also the Paris on the side, as I call it, the little bit of backstage of Paris, which is something where I live. I live in a very, I live on the right bank, not so far away from Montmartre, but it's not like the fancy chic area. It's something very mixed blend of people. Energies are different. It's something very, I would say, popular in a good way of popular. So this is I try to infuse that in the brand in a way. I really try to infuse all that in the brand. So it's more like a feeling than just something that you can see. And I like understated things in a way. So this is why you have the gray pale color. Things are a little bit, it's not a flashy gold. It's like a subtle dashed gold. I like that type of subtlety.
Well, I was very fascinated to learn, and now to hear again, that you choose the names of your perfume prior to actually formulating them.
Always.
That is so interesting. How do you craft an entire feeling and story in a bottle based on a name? I mean, what a huge question, I know, but
I would say it's like writing a book. You know, at least it's my way of working. Even if when I have to write a little few words or few sentences or even a text for the company or for Maison and all that, I always think about the final result, always. In a way, I always start with the end. And when I work, I always feel, when I think about the name, I always think not about, of course I have to like it, but I'm always thinking about, okay, this is my name, how people are going to react to it, what is going to be the response. And I'm thinking already about what I'm going to tell to the press if we do a press launch, how things will be done in the shop. And then I will do the scent accordingly. And you have to understand that I come to the perfume world not because of the perfume itself and the smell itself. I jumped in because, and I can treat you because it shouldn't be far away. My sister was collecting tiny perfume samples. And back to the 80s, those little samples, like dummies, were tiny replicas, small replicas of the original bottle. And it was they were beautifully crafted. And it was a mini version of it. And at the time, I remember the launch of Paris by Yves Saint Laurent. And it was during a haute couture show in Paris where he released, and the models, I think it was a black model. She was on the runaway with a black dress and a pink bow, and she was holding a big giant bottle of Paris. And there was that kind of it was a show. And I did ballet for many years. And to me, when I was looking at this type of event, it was like being on stage. There was that kind of magnificence. It was a real show. Launching a perfume at the time was a real show and something you were waiting for. You were waiting for the new Yves Saint Laurent perfume. You were waiting for the new Lancôme. There was that kind of
anticipation.
Anticipation, and also you wanted to know. There was that kind of a surprise. You wanted to be surprised. Nowadays, there are so many perfume launches that idea of the perfume has gone a little bit. Even couture was the same way. Fashion was not the fashion we know today. My mother was waiting for the shows to start because during that couture week, it will give you the length of the dresses, the length of the coats, the size, the length of the heels, the color codes. Is it a year with stripes? Is it a year with dots? What is the main colors of the season? Nowadays, you have everything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a trend. I come from when I was a teenager, and my mother being truly inspired with all these couture things, she was waiting for it because it would give the tune and the tone for the rest of the year. It was a very serious thing that will impact people, the way they dress is now. I won't say who cares about Fashion Week, but in a way, yes, we don't really care because there is everything is available, all the sizes, all the colors, all the shapes. Maybe it's better, but in a way, I miss that excitement of what is going to be the next thing. I was born and raised in that type of environment, so I try to infuse that in a way also in my product and within the company.
Do you think it might go back to that place now that things have slowed down a little bit, or do you think we're still on that fast track?
I think that you have different speeds. Really, I really believe that. I think you have, in a way, trendsetters who are capable to understand what's happening and who are far ahead of the mainstream movement. I believe that we're going to slow down. It depends on how things are going to be with I heard 2 days ago that China is getting a second wave, and that Beijing and Shanghai are again locked down. It depends. If we got the second wave is going to kill us in a way. What I mean by kill is going to really smash us. Right now, we're still like as if you have like a holding to you are like healing, and we have hope to go back to something. It's not going to go back to normal. It's impossible to go back to normal because we still have a kind of we are waiting that wave to come back, and there is a kind of uncertainty. But what I believe and what I told my team, companies who will be able to be even more creative and to stay by their values, those companies who have a voice through creativity, those will stand up and will keep going. But there is, because it's not only about the COVID, it's about the movement of the Black Lives Matters. It's about that fraction of in society between rich, super rich, and poor. It's not only the COVID. COVID is just a catalyst. COVID crystallizes something that was underneath already. And just, it's like when you do a mayonnaise, like it just puts things together in a faster way, but things were there already. But it's just like a big magnifying glass that pops up 10 times more than maybe it would have come. And it's a question of, it compressed the timing, but things were there already. So I have hope because for my work as a perfumer, if I go back through history, and I told my team as well, we did a lot of, I did at least twice a week, not focus group, but meetings, team meetings with my company in Paris, but in the US, in Asia, in different countries, where I was chatting about perfumes, the history of perfume. And when you look at the history of perfumes, Jean Patou released Joy in 1936 after the Big Depression. Mitsuko was created after World War I. Christian Dior launched Miss Dior in 1947 after the world was not even recovering from World War II. So as a perfumer, I can have hope, because if Guerlain was capable since, let's say, 1815 to be still up and running, after all the dramas in Europe, all the wars, all the disease, all that pain and everything, there is no reason, if I keep doing my job at its best, there is no reason why we can't keep going. It won't be the same. We may have different types of issues, but think about how online saved the business. We had to shut down the shops, and we had an amazing team, and I thank God they were on, and they were like, and we are all motivated to keep going. And we were, even though we had problems of delivery, we had tremendous issues with delivery because it was difficult. The post office was closed, and it was hard time for everyone. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. But we were capable to maintain things also a little, because we had that team at the warehouse capable to pack and to send the product, and we had online. So thank God, and this is technology. So there is always a way. You know, my glass is half empty, half full. There is always a way to see the world. I've decided quite a long time ago to see the beauty of people, not to focus on their default, to focus on their good qualities. I always try to get up in the morning to see if in the sky is gray, but maybe in the gray sky there is a piece of light, you know, and a way of hope. And you have to oblige yourself. You must think that way. Otherwise, the world is too painful. When you turn on the television and you listen to the news, I mean, you kill yourself.
No.
If you are too like a sponge. So you must see hope. You must see a way to get out of that mess, in a way.
The power of positivity is extremely important. I agree.
But it's not. But I don't want to see it as a fake positivity. You know, like when you always put a big smile. I have days when I'm totally down and I'm depressed, but I am capable to jump back and to keep going and to make it happen. And I'm lucky. I know that I'm blessed. I have a great personal environment. I have an amazing family. So I know that I have very few friends, but they are like solid as rocks. So I have that. Some people don't even have that. Some people are going through painful things. So I know that. So if someone blessed like me can't give the push and can't do it, I must do it. I must find a way to do it.
Good for you. I love that. That's super empowering. And we got so many questions for you about
yes
absolutely. We got so many questions for you from budding perfumers, but before I get into that, you touched a little bit on storytelling, and one of my personal favorite things about perfume and scent and fragrance in general is the ability for it to really tell a story. So what are some of your favorite creations and the stories that they tell that are closest to your heart?
One more time, sorry. What did you say? Sorry.
So my question was, what are some of your favorite creations that you've made and the stories that they tell that make them so close to your heart? What
is in the past is in the past, and if they are out, meaning if we have launched them, I mean, I like them at the same level. There is not a story I prefer than another, because it's not my way of being and of thinking. I don't know how to rank things like that, and I've never ranked them. the reason why I don't like that type of ranking is, why should I rank them? If I decided to launch Petit Matin Grand Soir, or to launch Rouge 540, or to launch Amiris, it means that they are deeply part of my story, they are deeply part of who I am in a way. They are not everything. There is a piece of me each time, but in a way they belong to the past. And what I'm focused is next year, in 2 years' time, and even in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. At some point, I'm thinking about who's going to be the next perfumer within Maison Kurkdjian, because I'm turning 50. I've turned 50 already. And my idea is, if I need to anchor the Maison and its craftsman and its craft and what it stands for into something that goes far away in the future, I need to think about who's going to replace me one day. So my head is always ahead. I never look back, never. And I always take the idea of a car. When you are driving your car, the front window, when you drive, I don't know how the thing in front of your head is bigger than the little thing on the side, but when you look back. So when you look back, it's a tiny mirror. When you look ahead, you have a big glass window. And it's not about, I don't prefer Petit Matin above Rouge 540, to be honest. To me, they're at the same level. I know that one is more successful than another. I know that. But to me, they are equal in a way.
So fair enough. You create a lot of gender fluid scents, no?
No, but go ahead.
I mean, whenever I smell one of your perfumes, I feel like it doesn't necessarily, have to, like, I love, as you know, we've discussed Baccarat Rouge, right? So I have friends that wear it that are female. I have friends that wear it that are male. What is there a right sort of ingredient for the woman, for the man? Can they be combined or interpreted different ways? Can you use the same ingredients for men's and women's fragrances?
Let's start from the beginning. Ingredients. Ingredients are genderless. It's like a fabric in a fashion. If you think about silk can become a tie or can become a dress. A tie with our Western codes is masculine because we're used that because not one day, but by convention, men wear ties, or they used to, and the women wear a dress. If you go to a different country or a different culture, if you go to Northern Africa, if you go to the Middle East, you would see men wearing, it's not called dress, but it looks like a dress. So fabric is genderless because as a designer, you decide what it becomes. Perfume is the same. Mandarin doesn't have a gender. Patchouli doesn't have a gender. Vanilla doesn't have a gender. It's the way you put things together, plus codes of the era of the era you live in that gives a gender. I'm going to give you an explanation, and I think that if the audience knows about perfume, they will understand. If you smell now Shalimar doesn't really smell femininity the same the way we see femininity today. Because Shalimar is very dark. There is a lot of moss. There is that kind of dark oriental pattern. And Shalimar is not feminine the same way we see femininity today. The same way masculinity is expressed today is different. And you can see it through clothing. You can see it through, mostly through clothing, When you said earlier that I have, many of my scents are gender fluid, I would say yes and no. I know that it's a weird answer. It's not maybe a correct answer, but in my mind, some scents are truly designed to be very masculine or very feminine. I give you an example. Two scents I really love, masculin pluriel and féminin pluriel. To me, they are like almost a cliche of classic bold femininity or classic bold masculinity. If we go to Rouge 540 to talk about your scent, for example, the idea was not to create a gender fluid scent or a masculine scent or a feminine scent. The story, truly the story, was to catch the alchemy of Baccarat and the art of making red crystal. And it was not about I was not thinking about, is it going to be a men's perfume? Is it going to be a woman's perfume? It was not about the result. It was about focusing on the scent and the smell. I've noticed that all my most successful perfumes, they had only one thing in common. They existed because I was focused on the story, not on the result. The result comes after. Le Mal, which is now celebrating his 25th anniversary. It was my first project. I was immersed in Jean-Paul Gaultier's world. I was obsessed by creating the scent and winning the competition and the brief. And nothing else mattered. It was not about, even if I thought that the perfume was too masculine or too feminine, my obsession was, I must catch that feeling of a man, sexy, daring, sexy, almost sexual. And that was my only obsession. Then at the end, it's like almost one day you wake up and you understand what you have done. It's like something with Narciso when I work with Christine Nagel on Narciso Rodriguez, on For Her. We did not decide to create a new ship. The idea was not to decide to create a new family. The idea was to focus on Narciso's wishes. What he gave us two things. He gave us a tiny bottle as big as that one with an oil that he bought in Brooklyn. It was written on top, it was called Egyptian musk. And I think if you are in New York, you can go on the street in New York and you have people selling perfumes on the street and they sell that Egyptian musk. So he gave us that tiny bottle of Egyptian musk and he gave us a tiny piece of cloth, pink silk satin duchesse cloth, that big. It was a kind of a dirty pink. And he said, this is the color, but when you touch it and if you close your eyes, this is the feeling I want of my perfume. And it was not about, and so when we went back to the office with Christine, the idea was not to create like a new ship. We didn't say we want to create a new family. We said we must focus on the story. And when I created Rouge 540, when Daniela, who was the CEO of Baccarat, gave me the mission of creating the signature scent of Baccarat, she didn't say, you must reinvent the gourmand family. She gave me this. She told me, she said, this is a bottle. So she handled me the big giant crystal Baccarat bottle. I think it's a 250 ml or maybe half a liter bottle, the big crystal bottle. And she said, I want you to put Baccarat into a bottle. And I did my research about Baccarat. I wanted to understand everything about Baccarat. I am Baccarat, the same way I was Jean-Paul Gaultier. When I worked for Eddie Slimane on Eau Noire, I was Eddie Slimane in a way. I was reading interviews. It was a long time ago, so it was not like as easy now. But when you Google and you have all the videos on the Facebook and the Instagram, it was not as easy. But yet I was capable to do it. But my mission was to be himself, as an actor, I tried to be Eddie Slimane, I tried to be Elisab, to be them, to feel and to think the way they think, because they do dresses. They don't have the knowledge to create perfumes. That's my mission, to create the scent. But if I am capable to jump into their head and to play with my raw materials, little samples, the same way they play with the fabric, with the feathers, with all these fashion things. But if I'm capable to do it my way with ingredient, then my perfume has more chances to fit in their universe.
Beautiful. And
Voilà.
so speaking a little bit about the male and the masculinity versus the femininity, who is the Maison Francis Kurkdjian man and woman?
I don't think, I'm sorry, again, I don't think that way at all. I don't want to know, in a way, I don't want to know who is my customer. It doesn't mean I don't care about my customer. I care a lot about my customer. I have a personal Instagram. It's open, but sometimes I have messages from customers. I try always to answer them. So I do care about my customer, but I don't care about, in a way, who he is. I don't care if it's more female, more male, how old he is, where he comes from. That I don't care, because I believe that my company is too young to target things and people. I don't want to create a perfume to target people. You don't target people. You please people. You make them happy. You bring them joy. So if you think that way, it's not about targeting people. You just try to please the widest audience possible. So I don't know who they are, to be honest. I don't know. You are one of them. But if there are 200 people listening to us today, maybe there are another 200 individuals. And right now, in today's world, many things are changing. The balance, not the balance, but when I created Gentle Fluidity, it was a question I had myself about the future of gender. Because I am, in a way, old. I am 50 years old, in a way.
I wouldn't say that.
No, I'm old in a way. No, but I was 30 years old in 2000. It means that I experienced a lot of the 20th century. I experienced also a lot about the 21st century, but I experienced a lot about the 20th century. So my parents were born before World War II. My grandparents, who I knew, were born before World War I. So I have histories not so far away from myself when I was a kid, from the 19th century. My grandfather was born in 1891. Mm. So when I say that I'm old, that I have a kind of distance from a little bit of a history where I can measure that things are going to change in the future. Things can change a lot. And when I understood that there was that gentle, imagine for a teenager now or for a young person now in their 20s, gentle gender fluidity is something normal.
Yeah.
When I was when I was 20 years old, being gay was difficult. Was very difficult. And I lived in a free country and I lived almost close to Paris, and it was hard to be gay. So we did there is a lot to do. How can I express that? In a more subtle way, maybe. Things are moving. The definition of masculinity and femininity are moving. I remember when I had my first gay friends in New York having a child, I have to say I was a bit shocked in a way, because my mental education, the way I was set up mentally, I was not ready to understand that one day two gay men or two lesbians could have a child. Now I love them. She's on the top of my phone, Charlotte. She's I am the godfather of the beautiful baby here. She's a year and a half old now. I'm the godfather of Charlotte, and my friends are in New York. I am super happy. I embrace them. I love them. But I didn't, when I was a child or when I was a teenager 40 years ago, I could not imagine that. So things are moving up. These are all evolution. And as a perfumer, my job also is to translate my era, the world I live in, into scent.
Oh, beautiful. What a nice way to say that. So you're getting a lot of love from a lot of people via email in the chat and the Q&A. So I want to make
Really?
a little bit of
Okay,
time
let's
to,
try to answer questions. Yeah,
yes,
let's try to answer
absolutely.
questions.
So
Okay.
here we go.
Okay.
It's great that you talk about how the little samples look in your sister's bedroom. Would you anticipate that you would create smaller bottles of your perfumes? I understand you've launched a 35 milliliter, but I wondered if 9 or 12 would be coming up for those who are interested. I love your perfumes. And that's from Alex Franklin. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Alex, we have, oh, I can see the questions. We have 11 we have 11 ml bottles. If you, I don't know if we got them in all size, in all perfumes, but if you go on our e-shop, you can find them. I think they are still online. So we have a smaller size, 11 ml. We have also deluxe samples that are a tiny one. I would love one day to have a replica, a tiny replica of my bottle. I would love to. It's a lot of spending, I have to confess. Not for a little result, but I prefer for now to put the money. We prefer with Mark to put the money somewhere else, but spending money to get that little tiny sample. We have deluxe, what we call deluxe samples, but one day we will. I'm sure we will.
Lovely. We have somebody else who asked, how long does it take you to create a new scent? I know you said you work far in advance, but what does that process look like?
Timing while creating a perfume is very different because now, as I said, I don't want people to focus too much on my age, but I'm experienced enough. So what used to take me like 600 trials when I was a young perfumer, now because I have the technique and I know a bit more, not to say more a lot, but I know a bit more, takes me much less longer time to achieve. But there is a roughly 18 months are roughly needed to create a fragrance from head to toe, from the beginning to the end. 18 months is a good timing, and to create the scent itself, I would say like 10 months, 8-10 months is good. I like it when it's a short run. I don't like when it's like 2 years, 3 years, and on top of it, it doesn't mean anything because I created Baccarat in 3 weeks' time. Technically, it took me 3 weeks to create the scent of the Baccarat scent because I've been working for 25 years also.
Right, so that experience definitely shortens the time.
Yes.
Okay, someone asked, Dimitri Kondos asked, Masculin Pluriel expressed something very familiar but with incredible finesse. Were classic perfumes used as direct references in its creation? And if so, which were?
Those two scents, Masculin Pluriel and Feminine Pluriel, when I created them, I was going through a difficult personal times in my life. Very, very difficult times. And not so long ago, I discovered that these two scents had a lot to do with my personal, not my personal taste, but things I have smelled when I was a kid, either my father's smell or my mother's perfume. And Masculin Pluriel, you have this 70s, mostly 70s and 80s smell, where you have lavender and herbal notes with a little bit of honey on the chypre base. But when I was creating Masculin Pluriel and Feminine Pluriel, it was not about those references. It was more like unconscious. It was more unconscious. And not so long ago, I found out that they were related to my very first year when I discovered the world of perfumes.
Oh, wow. Oh, so that's especially special then. Wow.
Yeah, there is that special thing about it.
Lovely. And Mariana Oznachuk wants to see actually bigger bottles. So we have someone who wants to see bigger.
Bigger than 200 ml. That's already a lot, 200 ml. So what size she would like us to create? I mean, it's a big size already, 200 ml. Then there is a problem with 200 ml. Let me say just something about the size. Because if you don't put, usually big sizes are cheaper than smaller sizes if you do the ratio per milliliter, okay? But if you don't use the perfume often, at some point, the perfume goes wrong or goes off, fades quickly because you have a lot of oxygen. And oxygen is one of the worst enemies of perfume. So I really encourage you to buy, in a way, smaller size if you don't use the perfume often. If you use it, if it's like your daily perfume, your daily signature scent, I really encourage you to wear a big bottle, but make sure that you use it regularly. Otherwise, the perfume fades away.
Is that, so if you buy, let's say I bought 3 perfumes and I use it every day, but one of them is in storage for an extended period of time, is it once it's open or?
Yes, once it's open, once it opens.
Okay, got it. And an anonymous attendee asks, what fabric or clothing material can allow the perfume to perform exceptionally in terms of sillage and longevity? And which notes perform better on clothing fabrics?
It depends. I don't put perfume myself, but cotton is one of the is a good one. Silk is very good as well. Silk is one of the best one, but the thing with silk is usually you may have some spots because don't forget that perfume is an oil before it gets diluted into the alcohol. So you have to make sure that you spray it from a kind of a distance, so you don't have like oily spots. Which ingredients perform which notes? It's not about the notes; it's about how you put them together.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because it's not because how can I explain that? Roughly, the Baccarat scent, who has a very big sillage and performs very well. He has 3 main notes. It's a question of a balance within the notes, because sometimes if you overdose one of those notes, it's like putting a cover on it. So it's a question of balance. So it's not about the notes, it's a question of balance.
Is there a right place on your body or your clothes that you're supposed to put perfume?
As a joke, Coco Chanel said once, you have to put perfume where you want to be kissed.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's a very famous. Have you ever tried? I tried. It's disgusting because then you have perfume on your lips. It's super disgusting. So I assume that Coco was never kissed so many people, because if she had done that, she would have found out that it's not good at all. And if you have perfume on your lips, it's like merk. You're like wow. So no, you have to put perfume next where you want to be kissed. That's the good recipe.
Lovely, lovely. Chris Carter says, it is fascinating to hear about how you create your fragrances through stories, but as a perfumer, do you ever think about the moments and narratives that people create through wearing your fragrances? I ask because Le Male is the scent of my university years, and it takes me back to amazing memories all these years later.
I always try to leave. It's going to be very, I would try to make it simple, but when I pick a name, I always try to find a way the wearer can put something of him in between. How can I say that? It's the idea of not giving everything, not to be too first degree, to find, let me try to find another way. If I talk about the sunset and the feeling of a sunset, of the sun rising, everyone on earth, from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere, knows the feeling of the sun rising and knows the feeling of the sun setting, because that's universal. If you are too first degree, if you don't leave a little bit of mystery, people can't project themselves, because it's in your face, it's first degree, and there is nothing really where your imaginary can go through. You know, it's like a journey. And to me, perfume is when you discover a scent. In a way, it's like an unknown journey. If things are written on a map like this, and too squared, it's boring. And there is no room for mystery, no room for, I don't know how to express it in another way, but I always try to be not too literal.
Fair enough. And let the person create their journey themselves.
Yes, yes, I think it's important. You know, it's like, another word, it's like when you put something on, like a piece of clothing. Sometimes it's trapped, but you feel super at your ease because it fits perfectly your body. And when you look at you in the mirror, you really think you are good, and you're not déguisé, you are not costumed. And sometimes you try another outfit, physically it fits perfectly your body, but for an awkward thing, if you wear it during the day, you feel that someone is not you, and you look at yourself and you feel like something is weird. And to me, perfume works very much that way.
That's a great analogy.
You have to leave a space. I try to leave a space between the skin and the perfume so people can express who they are in between.
That's a very well said. Great analogy. And are we supposed to wear different perfumes? Are we supposed to have one signature scent for ourselves, or do we mix it up?
People do whatever they want. If I claim every day that I feel free and I am a free man, I must leave people do whatever they want. I can't give advice because it's not my job. I prefer people not to layer fragrances, but I have to admit that I am against layering, because it's like, imagine you are in a very elegant restaurant with an amazing chef. You order yourself 3 different desserts, and you blend and you mix yourself. You cut a third of each dessert, you put them in one other plate, and you start to eat everything at once. I think there is something a bit disrespectful with that. But it's a very personal opinion. People are free to do whatever they want. And this is why I've created the idea of a fragrance wardrobe. The idea of fragrance wardrobe is truly to give confidence to people, to men and women, to wear different perfume, not to layer them, but if Monday you want to be someone, or you feel something, and so you get the perfume accordingly. And if Wednesday you have decided to switch or to change, if it's all about that, this is why the wardrobe exists within Maison Kurkdjian. So voilà. People are free to do whatever they want.
I got a lot of questions from people who are looking to follow in your footsteps and asking advice.
Really?
So I'm going to ask a couple of them to you now, if you don't mind.
Yes. No, of course.
I cannot pronounce this person's name, and I truly apologize. I don't want to butcher it. Dogukan Tamer Ozturk wants to know, can you give some advice and motivation for people that want to create a perfume? I personally try but can't bring the result. For me, Baccarat is one of the best creations I've ever smelled. And I'm just going to read a couple of similar questions from other people who are also budding perfumers. Would you ever lead or teach a perfume class? And that was from Tamar. And what is the most challenging part of starting in the perfume business? What advice would you give a beginner? From Damola Ojedokon.
Okay. I don't know how long is left for our talk, but I will give you links. I will give you relevant links in English for you to share with your audience, so they will have tips on precisely on how to do it. There are great tutors online, pretty well done, I have to say. Second, I used to teach a lot. I gave a lot of time to the perfumery school in Versailles at ISIPCA, and I am in a turning point in my career where I need myself to go back to school in a way. I need myself to learn again and to change things the way I do. I would love to change a few things, but the way I do it in terms of creation. So it's impossible for me to right now to teach again because I am trying myself to move on into something I don't know yet. Once I will know where I'm going to, what I'm moving forward to, it will be easier for me to go back teaching. But right now I feel a bit in between two phases of my life, of my creative life. Where to start? You know, perfume is like a foreign language. It is a foreign language. When you look at a formula, I'm going to show you one here.
Please.
You know, this is a formula I'm working on right there. This is my, I use two parts. This is the computer version, it's a computer part, meaning I put the data on my computer. I have a special dedicated platform to create perfumes. And then when I run my trials, I put my hands here because this is the name of the scent is right there. So I need, as it's going to be the final name, I need to hold it. But you see my handwriting.
Wow.
So here you have columns, and each column is a new formula. And sometimes I switch, like here, one ingredient. So the only difference here is this one. So it's like you learn step by step. Okay. So first, as a new language, you must learn the alphabet, the raw materials, the ingredients. Little by little, you start to create a sentence. But at the beginning, and I know that perfume, when I used to teach and I had amazing perfumers and they're doing good perfumes now, I'm very happy for them. At the beginning, you want to go fast because you are motivated and you want to do things. You want to go fast because you want to create your perfume. At the very beginning, at the early stages, it's like when you learn walking as a kid. Think how long it takes for your feet to touch the ground, to feel it, to stand by yourself, or when you bicycle, and that you imagine that someone is holding on your back. So when you bicycle one day, they let you go. It takes time, and you have to go. In a way, the beginnings, you have to go slow because you need to learn your vocabulary, the raw materials, and then you start to. But I can give you advice. I will give online the whole afterwards. I can give the right answers.
We'll touch base with you hopefully after, and we can maybe
Yes,
something up.
I will. I'll commit. Don't worry.
With that, we are actually over time already.
It's okay.
I would love to chat more,
care.
but I
don't
want to be
care.
respectful of your time.
I don't care. I can give you, let's say, 15 more minutes.
Lovely. That's all we even.
Okay,
better.
let's do that. Okay, perfect. Let's do that.
Let's
Okay, let's
going.
do that.
Okay, so Jason Selick, I'm sorry, again, the names, I'm terrible, but he asked, for me, the Maison Kurkdjian Oud collection has the most exquisite scents. I'd love to hear about your inspirations and the work that went into it. I'm very curious to hear about it.
For Oud was a very tricky project because I was not the first one. So I was not the first one. There are other Ouds before I did my own Ouds, and I was a bit scared, not scared, but I was a bit not upset. I was reluctant in a way. I was truly reluctant to create an oud perfume because oud perfumes, oud fragrances are very popular. They do very well commercially. So it's revenues. I mean, as a company, you understand that you need to have sales because if you have sales, you can have employees, you pay well your employees and you can grow and you can imagine that it's a kind of that mechanic. But I was a bit reluctant to create oud because I was not the first one to create oud. And I wanted to bring something different and new. And Mark told me once that we don't care about you copying something that existed. I want your version of wood. This is how I started to create the first one. It's just called simply wood. That's it. Because at the time, and this is something I hate in the perfume business, you think sometimes like raw materials, they always have a big funky and weird adjectives. You have a royal musk, imperial musk, amber imperial, all this bullshitty stuff. Why the musk is imperial and while the vetiver is royal, and why this one is bad one. That to me doesn't make sense at all. But all this storytelling, I don't get it at all. And I remember when Carven, Vetiver, when Mrs. Carven, the house of couture Carven, released Vetiver in the late 50s, Vetiver by Carven was built a trend and was followed by many other Vetivers. And they were all called Vetiver. You had the Vetiver by Guerlain, a Vetiver by Lanvin, a Vetiver by, who else did the Vetiver? I forgot all of them, and I love the idea of stripping down the wood with all the adjectives. Because if you go online, there are many adjectives with wood, imperial, royal, whatever. They are all like, basically. And I wanted to come with like a naked wood to show a French way, and to have a French way to look at wood. Because if you think about it, patchouli comes from Malaysia. Tuberoses, they come from India. I would say in a way, nothing comes really from France. Roses, even from grass, they are originally from Persia. Orange blossoms, they are from Italy. So French, in a way, and perfumery. And this is what I love about France. We must be inclusive, even with perfumes. And I need my cinnamon from Ceylon. I need the cardamom from Guatemala. I need the tonka bean from Brazil. And I need the balance and the French taste to put all these exotic raw materials all together to create something unique. That was my take on wood.
Lovely. And we got quite a few questions about your being part of LVMH, and one of them was,
yes,
are there certain guidelines that you need to follow being a part of the LVMH group? Or I'm assuming you've sort of kept true to what you've been doing since the inception of your company.
Nothing has changed. Guidelines in terms of creative guidelines, you mean?
I'm assuming.
It is creative guidelines. I mean, the office was located the way it is before the takeover of LVMH. I had exactly the same space at the same location. I have the same raw materials. I wake up the same way. I go to bed the same way. It's an amazing family, I have to say. Now it has been 3 years, but these are 3 amazing years because nothing in a way has changed. It's changed for the best. Mm-hmm. I am in touch with amazing people, with very clever, with lots of knowledge. They're trying to help us to be even better. They were super welcoming. At the headquarters, we are treated at the same level. Even we are one of the smallest brands within LVMH. You imagine Louis Vuitton and Christian Dior compared to us. You can easily imagine, okay? But when we go to the headquarters, we are treated the same way as any other brands. Every 2 years, Antoine Arnault decided to open the doors of every house. It's called Journée Particulière. It's a way to invite outside people. Like you register online and you can visit all the houses of LVMH. We are part of that gathering as any other companies of the group. And if there is one decision I'm very happy that I have made in my life is to partner with LVMH. I think this is one of the best decisions I have ever had in my life, ever.
That's great. And we work with
there is
a
not
lot
a day,
of the LVMH.
There is not a day I regretted it. There is not a day I have regretted it. I said I made a mistake. Never, ever, ever, never.
That's
never.
Lovely.
I was afraid to do so because it was impressive. It's a impressive company, group, but I've never regretted it. Never.
I don't blame you. We have a question. If you place the perfume in the refrigerator, will the cold air help preserve it?
Yes, but make sure that when you take it out, it doesn't go to a very hot place. Perfume doesn't like cycle of heat and cold and hot and cold. It doesn't like that. 3 enemies: light, UV light, forget about it, heat, and balancing from cold and hot. It doesn't like that at all. And oxygen. This is why if you buy a big bottle and if it's half empty, make sure you use it regularly.
I see. Okay, so fluctuation similar to wine, I suppose.
Yeah.
Somebody has a personal question for you. As a creative person, do you have any other artistic interests outside of the perfume world?
Yes. I play the piano. I used to not to be a ballet dancer, but I practice classical ballet a lot. I like music at large, every types of music. I like every type of art. It's hard for me to choose. I couldn't name something I don't. I don't like, for example, naive art. I don't know if you say the same in English, but naive art. I'm not very good at. I don't really like that, but I love primitive art a lot. I discovered that not so long ago. I love contemporary art. I don't like everything. I don't like conceptual art. I am not very conceptual as a guy myself. I like when there is a craftsmanship behind it. I like when there is a transformation of the material. I like when people do things with their hands. I love that type of thing a lot. So to me, what is artistic needs to have it's not only conceptual, otherwise I got lost.
Understood. Stephanie Fernandez Lopez wants to know what you think is the most important characteristic or skill that a fragrance evaluator should possess.
Evaluator should. It's like me when I work for. It's like myself when I create with a designer. You have to disappear behind the perfumer. You have to be in his shoes. You have to be in his mind. It's not about your taste. It's about his taste. And as an evaluator, your responsibility is to help the perfumer to achieve what he has in his mind. The same way, as a perfumer, my mission is to achieve and to translate what the designer has in his head. To me, it's the same thing. It's like acting, you know, when you act, you have to endorse the role of the character, but you have to let your body in the hands of the director. And an evaluator is like has that type of responsibility. When I worked for another brand, I was born and I was trained in that way. When I work for myself, which is the most difficult thing in my when I work for Maison, it's by far the most difficult challenge I have is to work for my brand.
Oh, okay.
Because it's about me in a way. And it's very hard for me to talk about me, even though I've been talking about me for an hour and a half now with you. But when it comes to perfume, it's very difficult because in a way, it's not about my taste. It's about l'air du temps, as we say in French. It's about what's going outside. It's about the outside world that I try to capture.
Absolutely. And with 2 minutes left, I know it's very late for you in France, so I don't want
No,
to.
it's okay. I don't. I said home that I'll be back at 9 o'clock. So it's fine. I'm still fine. Don't worry.
Okay, even better.
I'll
Okay.
tell you.
Yeah, please do. Don't be shy. I don't think you're shy, but don't be shy.
It's okay. It's okay.
So given you talked a little bit about your fragrance wardrobe, so we got quite a few questions about your fragrance wardrobe and what fragrances.
It's empty. It's empty. My fragrance wardrobe can be summed up with all the shower gels of the. I don't wear perfume I can't wear perfumes. I don't wear perfumes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Because I am. It's too much. I feel like I am stuffed. It's not I don't like it. I used to wear when I was a teenager before going to the perfumery school. I used to wear so many perfumes. I was the only one out of three to have my own little bathroom in my bedroom. I have a little corner with my bathroom, my own bathroom, and I had all my perfume bottles. And it was like a big perfumery. I used to switch all the time. I was not loyal to one perfume. I had different types of. I used to wear Minotaur by Paloma Picasso. I used to wear Obsession by Calvin Klein. I used to wear Pour un homme by Caron, Habit Rouge, Eau Sauvage. I can name them all because I do remember how they were like aligned on my cabinet like that. And the day almost, or a week after I got into the perfume school, I understood that this habit would belong to the past because I can't work if I wear something. I put things on today. This is why I always have my sleeve up because I have a scent here, I have one here. There is one here. There is one here. I have almost like scents everywhere. So you can't put perfume on. It's impossible. And during the weekend, I bring home the samples I need to follow up the creative process, the work in progress. And when it's over, it means it's time for me to go off, to be off. So I don't wear perfumes anymore.
Mystery solved.
I miss it. I miss it in a way. I miss it a lot, but I can't. I really can't.
I imagine. Kim Bigornia says, I had the fortune of learning perfumery in ISP-ICA for summer school.
Yeah, but it's my perfume school.
Good I was surprised that I enjoyed making perfumes more than cosmetics in class. I loved thinking about a specific moment or feeling and translating it into perfume. How can I improve identifying and mixing different ingredients? It's a big one.
So improving identifying, okay, so to identify, you have, it's like, think about music. So basically you went to the music school, you understand how to create a piece of music, but to listen, to differentiate each note, you need to know each note. So the best way to do it is to, if you have access, depending on where you are, to have access to the raw materials, to smell them, and then it's a question of training. You have to train your nose when you smell a perfume, a finished scent. You have to train your nose to see if you can distinguish within the scent if the raw material is there or not. It's a matter of training.
Interesting. What are some of your inspirational music and cinema references, if any, when creating a perfume? And that was from Mariana Oznachuk.
Do I have no, because I'm not good with movies. It's not a medium. It's not a medium I am familiar to.
Understood.
And usually I don't work that way, and I don't work that with such things. I don't have like a mood board with faces and a blonde and a brunette, and I don't. No, it's not my way of working at all.
What do you like most about being a perfumer? That's quite a large question, but it did a lot of questions.
What is, sorry?
A lot of people asked email and live today, what is the thing that you like most about being a perfumer?
What I love the most is I decided to become a perfumer. I was 13 years old, 13, as a kid, almost a kid. There is not a day I have regretted it. There is not a day I wanted to do something else. What I miss about perfume, though, the only thing I am sad about perfume is I don't see the audience. When I was doing ballet, I went on stage many times for many years. So you have a response of the audience. You give everything that you have. You are on stage, meaning you give to the audience your energy, your soul, your body, but you have at the end of the performance, you have a response.
Right.
You have, most of the time you have applause, unless you mess it up, people are clapping, and you have bravos and all that. I have to say, and I have to admit, that I love that moment of that type of not only recognition, but a mutual feeling of something. I was happy because I gave everything to be good on stage, and the response, people were happy to see the group, not only myself, because I was part of a group. What I miss with perfume, I feel alone in a way, because I work in my office, then the bottle goes to production, then it goes to a perfumery, and I am not there to see someone smiling. I am not then, and I am not around when when you smell someone in the neck, when you smell your lover in the neck and you have the happy space, when you run into someone in the street and you see that, or you smell the perfume, that same perfume that you have yourself worn, or maybe someone you have loved in the past have worn, and it brings you back. Perfume is personal, and and I miss that. This is why I love chatting anyway, and I would love to spend hours like answering each sentence, because I can read it on the side. I'm not a geek, but I could manage to see also some questions on the side, and I love I love these sessions where you answer the direct questions, because some people, they want to become perfumers, and it's not easy to become perfumers, but it's easier now than it used to be when I was a kid, because now we're chatting. I never heard Jacques Polge or Jean-Paul Guerlain, who were the masterpieces when I was a kid. There was no way for me to listen to them, because we didn't have tools to communicate. There is no tutors online. There is a great BBC. If you go on YouTube and you type BBC and perfumes, there is an amazing BBC series about perfume, which is which is very well done. When I was a kid, there were one article per year about perfume, nothing else. So today, it's difficult, but it's easier than when I was a kid. But I love to interact with people. I love to let them understand that being a perfumer is not being a nose. Being a perfumer is thinking about in your head first, and then you write down the formula. You write what you have in your head. It's not just randomly mixing things and blending in the lab things together. It has nothing to do with that. So that part I miss. That part of, as an artist, if I may be an artist, maybe or not, I don't know. But when you see a singer, that singer can go on stage and he can sing with the audience. There is a interaction. That was what the world maybe I was looking at. I have no interaction, or very little interaction, with the people who are happy with my work. And I don't know them, unless a singer or a performer who at some point, he can see faces in a big room, not necessarily looking at him, but there is that connection. There is that philosophical, emotional connection that I miss, I have to say. But now we have tools to do things differently. So voila.
Well, in response to that, several people that have attended here today consider these as my applause. Same here. So generous of you for your time.
Okay.
I do want to ask this one last question from Andres Yori, because it's very interesting. You spoke a little bit about your age and your experiences that led you to where you are today in terms of, your journey as a perfumer. Andres wants to know if there's an age limit to becoming a perfumer.
I would say no, in a way, because it's not physical. It's intellectual. It's not like running. It's not like athletic. There is nothing athletic about it. There is nothing physical about it. So I would say yes, there is no limitation of that type. However, we all know that it's like a language. When I said earlier, it's easier to speak 3 languages when you are a kid than when you grew up, and it's easier when you are 5 or 2 or 3 than when you start to be 45 or 30, because your brain, malheureusement, unfortunately, the brain doesn't follow up. Yeah. So I would say the younger is always the better, in a way, unfortunately. But I have seen things in my life where perfumers stand out in their 40s, in their 50s. When I did Le Mal, when I met Christine Nagel, who is now at Hermès, Christine started perfumes at 40 years old, creating perfume and standing out. She was 40 years old. I was 25. There is a great book that, if I have one advice for the people who want to become perfumers, or who want to how can I say, people who want to learn more about the field. There is an amazing book. It's the book I gave as a reference for people to read when they want to become perfumers. They want to know. It's called 20 Perfumers in Creation. The book was edited by the owner of Memo. I forgot her name. Sorry, I forgot her name. But it's 22 portraits of perfumers, men and women, from different ages, different background, different roots. It's amazing to see how come we are all, the 20 of us, we are all different. Some are from Grasse. Some are the son of a son of a son of a perfumer. Some are like me. They come from suburbs. They are come from nowhere. But one day they woke up and they decided to become perfumers. And this book gathered all these 22 bios in a way. And to me, it gives hope. It shows that there is not one single way to become someone. There is not the best way. There are ways. I think the best way is to find your way. But there is always a way for you, always.
Beautiful. What a lovely conversation this was, Francis. I can't thank you enough for your time. You're fantastic.
Thank you for making me at my ease, because usually I'm very shy. Maybe it doesn't show up now, but we had a little talk earlier this week. I was at my ease with you. It was super fluid. You are very delicate and gentle in a way, in your way, woman, and so for me it's easier to talk also in confidence.
Thank you for
Merci beaucoup. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for your audience to listen to me.
Absolutely.
And stay well. Be careful.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Same.
It's important. We have a little road to go with this disease, unfortunately, and many other challenges are waiting for us. But let's hope. There is hope.
Remain hopeful. Absolutely. And yes, for those of you asking, we are going to post a recording of this chat on YouTube and on our website, hauteliving.com. For everyone that tuned in, thank you so much for your time, Francis. Like I said, you're incredible, and I certainly look forward to meeting you very soon one day, I hope.
Yeah. Yes, it will. It will.
Absolutely.
Have a beauty from Paris with love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Take care.